the prophecy and the races. Still, there were flashes of creativity in the otherwise serene Achaeans after the creation. Proteus and Phaestus began experimenting with creating life forms, while Agathis explored the mysteries of matter and energy in their myriad manifestations. During this period, Proteus and Phaestus created many animals, birds, insects and types of vegetation, populating the innumerable planets with life. Finally, they hit upon the secret of consciousness and created the Tsala. Tall and live, the Tsala chose to dwell in the forests of the world of Achaea, on the continent of Sapiens. Eventually, Phaestus too created a race called the dwarves. The dwarves were short, stocky creatures fond of metal, gem, and all products of the earth. Much to the consternation of Phaestus, his beloved dwarves seemed to lack any sort of free will. Unable to make decisions for themselves, they were not much more than very complex machinery. Phaestus eventually found a solution to this, but we will return and tell this story later. Ages came and went with the Tsala building their forest homes, the dwarves, under the supervision of Phaestus building their mountain fortresses, and the gods and Alder mastering more and more of creation. Aer looked down upon his work and was pleased. He enjoyed feeling the triumphs and travails of Proteus, with whom he was one, and things were good. After countless ages had passed, one single event took place that was to forever change creation. As well as we may know, a being of incomprehensible structure entered creation from somewhere outside and began wandering. Eventually, it encountered Maya, an alder of exceedingly pure and innocent soul. Horribly, it proceeded to rape Maya, who was residing on our planet, the favorite of the alder. Upon discovering her, lying prone in a state of shock, Dekelb, a prominent alder, began wailing in grief. A goddess had been injured, something unheard of. Aer heard Dekelb's cries and grew angry. He struck out at this being, banishing it to places unknown to suffer in eternal torment for its sins. He erased all evidence that it had ever existed save for its effect on Maya. She was pregnant with the child of this unnameable horror. It was soon after this that the alder, Camus, began to gain his current reputation as the greatest prophet in history. It was the twin prophecies, as they were later dubbed, that forever cemented his place in history. Camus first predicted that at some point, Proteus would be overthrown, as leader of the gods, and another would fill his place. Upon hearing this, many of the gods called for his death, but Proteus declined, feeling that Camus was simply expressing what he had seen with his gift, not advocating a rebellion. Camus' second prophecy was that Maya would bear twins, and that these children would not be alder but would have the potential to someday rival them in power. When Maya gave birth, it was indeed twins, and they were distinctly not alder. Many of the alder and gods, upon viewing these children, laughed and ridiculed Camus, for they were pathetic, mewling, helpless things. Nevertheless, Proteus saw something special in them and ordered the alder to build for them a land called Ceylon, meaning land of the dawn. Designed by the chief architect, Mantru, and built with the sweat of many alder, Proteus then placed the city on the continent we now call Sapiens and decreed that these humans would inherit it. Further, he ordered that no alder was to exercise dominion over humanity without their consent. This upset many of the alder and made them resentful, as they considered this world theirs and the humans merely bastard children, fit only to serve.